Good afternoon, year two. Today we're doing something slightly different because it's Tuesday and it would normally be our science day, but it's a very special day for us today. It's what's called Safer Internet Day. Okay? And Safer Internet Day is when we celebrate all the ways we use the internet, which is such a wonderful thing. But think about how we can look after ourselves and be safe on there because the internet is wonderful, but it can have problems and there can be things you need to be careful and look out for to make sure you keep yourself safe and protected whilst you're online. So this is going to be today's lesson, and all the other lessons will move up one. So Wednesday will be our science, Thursday will be our history, and then Friday will be our extra RE lesson. So let's start. Let's have a look. So what is Safer Internet Day? What is it? What do you think it might mean? What does it mean? Well, it's a day that's celebrated across the globe in over 170 countries, with thousands of children joining in across the UK. It's a day when we celebrate all the great things about being online and remind ourselves of how we can stay safe, because it's brilliant to be online, isn't it? But we need to look after ourselves whilst we are online and keep ourselves safe. So what devices do you use to find information or access information online? What devices do you mean? Okay, so you can tell someone, you can tell your screen, and in a minute we'll go through them. And what you can do, you can give me a thumbs up if you use it on the internet, and a thumbs down if you don't. Okay, so tell your screen, what devices do you use to access the internet? Very interesting. Okay, so I'm going to tell you some things that you might use, and if you or anyone else, so your mum, dad, brothers, sisters, use those things, do a thumbs up. If they don't, do a thumbs down. Okay. So does anyone in your family use the internet to play on an iPad or a tablet? I know I have. Does anyone in your family use a computer or a laptop to find information? That's what I'm doing now when I'm sending it to you. Has anyone watched a TV show or video on Netflix, Amazon Prime, BBC iPlayer, 4OD, anything like that? Again, that's a thumbs up from me. Anyone asked a smart speaker to do something? So either your Alexa or your Google Home. Mine's probably going to go off now. Has anyone played with other people in an online game? So have you ever played any games online with other people, like Minecraft, for example? I haven't done that. I don't play online games. Has anyone used a mobile phone to chat, video call, play a game, watch a video, or find something out? I do that. And have you used a smartwatch to count how many steps you've done or something similar? I do that. And I know there's a few of you in my class that also do the same, don't you? So there's lots of different ways we can access information online using lots and lots of different devices. And there are more and more different types. For example, smart speakers, when I was your age, they didn't exist. Laptops were very, very difficult to find, and you couldn't get on the internet on a mobile phone. So things change very, very quickly. So what do you like to do online? You could write it down or you could tell someone. Okay. And there's some pictures on this slide to help you to think about what you might like to do. So you might like to look up photos online or of the people in your family have shared. You might like to listen to your favorite songs on something like Spotify. Or you might like to find out information about your favorite thing. For example, when new dinosaurs are discovered. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to talk to the person next to you or to your screen and then tell you, and you're going to tell them what you like to do online. Okay, so very interesting. I like hearing all your wonderful ideas. So we're going to look at today a story, okay? Because we're thinking about how we look at information online and whether we can trust everything that we see on the internet. Can you give me a thumbs up if you think that everything you see on the internet is true? Or a thumbs down if you think there might be some things that aren't true? I bet there's lots of thumbs down. That's right. Although there's lots of information online that is useful and trustworthy, it's important to remember that there is also information online that's not so trustworthy and may even be there to try to confuse us. So sometimes people put the wrong thing on purpose to confuse us. Now, I'm going to read you a story about a duck called Digiduck who loves to go online. It's called Detective Digiduck, and it's all about using the internet to find things out. So get yourselves comfy and we'll have a look at this story. Detective Digiduck by Lindsay Buck, illustrated by Stephanie Cartwright. School had nearly finished for the year, and Digiduck had one last project. His teacher, Mrs. Goose, had asked the class to find out about animals that live in the forest. Digiduck knew his parents had friends in the forest, but he'd never been. Forests were a mystery. He needed to rush though. Crazy Cat and Footy Fox were on his family farmyard game team, and they were so close to winning. If he could do this quickly, they could still play before bedtime. So he's playing an online game, isn't he? Okay. And he wants to get the game finished so he can win and have another game by bedtime. He searched online for forest animals. There were so many websites to choose from, but one picture caught his attention straight away. Perfect, he said happily. Digiduck discovered that a deer's antlers are the fastest growing body part of any animal in the world, and once they start growing, they don't stop. Doves travel for thousands of miles when they migrate and are happiest in cold weather. All dragons can fly and breathe fire. They live in the deepest, darkest forests. So that's some of the information he's found out. That's incredible, said Digiduck. He looked at the clock. Crazy Cat would still be online. Game time. So he's finished his work. He can go on his game now, can't he? Later that week, when Mrs. Goose returned his work, he was surprised. Oh no, he exclaimed. I wonder where I went wrong. He looks very upset there, doesn't he? He arrived home feeling glum, but soon cheered up when he saw that Wise Owl was visiting. He was a good friend and had helped Digiduck before. I don't understand, said Digiduck, showing them his work. The website I chose had lots of information and fantastic pictures. I thought they were all facts. How can I tell the difference? Something is only a fact if you can prove or show that it's true, explained Wise Owl. Like the fact that all birds have beaks. We can see that. We know that it's true. So if I said all birds have 8 legs, that is not a fact. I know it's untrue because I am one, replied Digiduck. Precisely, said Wise Owl. Also, things you read or see online might just be ideas that people have. I could say on the internet that Brave Bat is the best superhero, but you might think that Daring Duck is better. We can't say who's right or wrong because there are opinions or feelings that we have. So we've got opinions, haven't we? They can't be right or wrong because it's just how someone feels and people can feel differently. To check if something is a fact, you have to be a detective, Digiduck, and look for information or clues in other places too. Digiduck leaped up enthusiastically. Detective Digiduck, on the case! He quickly stopped in his tracks. Hang on. Where else are we going to look for information? I'm going to teach you 3 things that you can do to help decide if what you found on the internet is a fact or not. We'll use a different one for each forest animal, explained Wise Owl. We'll video call one of the animals, we'll chat with your parents, and we'll look on another website too. This is going to be amazing, yelled Digiduck. Please, can we call the dragon first? Please. Do you think he's going to be able to call the dragon? Why or why not? We'll save the dragon for later, but we'll call my friend Big Buck first. No one knows more about being a deer than a deer himself. The call connected, and a magnificent stag appeared on screen. His antlers were quite unexpected, though. Hi, waved Digiduck. The internet says that your antlers grow really fast and never stop. But now, I'm not so sure. Our antlers grow remarkably fast, said Big Buck proudly. That part's true, but we shed them in the spring and they grow again in the summer. Can you see how Big Buck has only got one antler? And Digiduck thought that they grew forever, didn't he? So he's learned something new. Wait, they come off, quacked Digiduck, turning a little pale. It's okay, chuckled Big Buck. They're meant to, and it doesn't hurt a bit. They returned to the project over dinner. Mummy Duck, can you tell us anything about doves? Asked Wise Owl. I know that doves are truly extraordinary flyers. It won't be long before our friends think about heading off again. Where to? Asked Digiduck. The internet said they like cold places. Not all doves are the same, but some fly an exceptionally long way to get to warmer places, and this migration lasts many months. Oh, the stories they tell, replied Mummy Duck wistfully. Right, detective, what have you learned so far? Asked Wise Owl. Digiduck studied his notebook. To check the information you find online, you need to talk about it with an adult. You might even know an expert who can help too. And on his piece of paper, he's got Big Buck, antlers fall off, Mummy and Daddy, and he's put that they don't like doves don't like it cold, but they like it warm. Very good, replied Wise Owl. That just leaves the dragon. Oh, I can't wait, said Digiduck, hopping excitedly. Before we start, it's useful to ask yourself some questions about what you've discovered online. There might be things that you already know that can help. A good detective thinks really carefully about the clues to decide what the facts are. What do you know about dragons so far? Asked Wise Owl. The website said they can fly and breathe fire, replied Digiduck. Have you or anyone you know ever seen a dragon? Wise Owl asked kindly. I've seen a dragonfly before, but not a flying dragon. I don't think anyone I know has seen one of those. Have you seen any other photographs, videos, or news reports about dragons? In your books, on TV, or anywhere online? I watched a video about Komodo dragons, but they're actually the biggest lizards in the world. There are fire-breathing dragons in my bedtime stories, but lots of made-up things happen there too. Digiduck sat quietly, considering the clues in his mind. After a while, he said with a little sigh, I think dragons might not be real. I'm afraid they aren't, comforted Wise Owl. The information you found out about dragons was untrue. They only live in made-up stories, but what terrific stories they are. Wise Owl and Digiduck searched online for different animals to complete his project. The family farmyard had lots of interesting forest facts, and Digiduck also checked a website that Mrs. Goose had shown them. So he's looking at different websites now that the teacher has shown him, so he knows that they're true. On the last day of term, the children were bursting with excitement. As a special treat, Mrs. Goose has arranged a picnic lunch at the forest school. So that's the end of the story. So now I want you to think about these questions. You can either tell the screen or tell an adult. So first of all, what 3 things did Wise Owl teach Digiduck to do to check what he had found out? So what did he do? That's right. He told him the 3 things he needs to do. First of all, he needs to ask one. So if he wants to learn about dragons, he needs to try and ask a dragon or ask someone who knows about them. He told him to ask his parents or his teacher if he wasn't sure. And he told him to check other sources of information, so other websites, books, or TV programs to help him. And then he can check if the information's true. Question 2. Decide if each of these sentences is a fact, an opinion, or untrue. So first of all, a duck has feathers. Is that a fact, an opinion, or untrue? It's a fact, isn't it? We can see that ducks have got feathers. Part 2. A duck can spin a web. Fact, opinion, or untrue? That's untrue, isn't it? We know that a duck can't spin a web because they're not like spiders, are they? Number 3, a duck is beautiful. Fact, opinion, or untrue? Well, you might think a duck's beautiful, but somebody else might not. So that's an opinion, isn't it? Can you think of any examples of your own? So question 3, name 5 adults that you know and trust that could help you with any problems online. So can you think of 5 adults? So you might say your mum, your dad, older brothers or sisters if they're adults, aunties, uncles, grandmas, granddads, teachers, teaching assistants. There are lots of people who can help you, aren't there? Number 4, if anything online confused, worried, or upset you, how would you ask for help? What could you say? So if you saw something online, it would be a good idea, wouldn't it, to tell someone, I saw something and I didn't like it. And then you could tell them where you saw that thing, and you could tell them what you were worried about, and they could help you. And we won't look at question 5 yet because we've got lots to get on with. So there's some additional questions here that I want you to think about and tell an adult or tell your screen. Do you talk to family or friends online? How do you do that? So how would you do that? It's especially important at the moment, isn't it? So perhaps you video call them. Perhaps you do Zoom or Skype calls. Perhaps you phone them on your telephone. Perhaps you send them text messages or internet messages. Perhaps you keep in touch with them through the games that you play. So what websites or online games let people talk to each other who don't know each other in person? So there's lots of games that do that, isn't there? But you just need to be careful because lots of these games that you can talk to people online have an age restriction. And sometimes you have to be over 13, sometimes you have to be over 18. Okay, so if you're on something like Facebook, you should be 13 or older. If you're playing certain games, they might have an age restriction, and you need to be careful because you don't know always the person you're speaking to. So it's important to try and only play against people you know in real life. Question 3. What facts about yourself should you not tell to strangers online and offline? And what do we call these facts? So these facts are what we call personal information, and that's things like your full name, your address, your school address, your date of birth, any of your passwords, or any pictures of yourself. You shouldn't share those with people who you don't know. That's both online and offline. So if you're on the internet, you wouldn't do that, but also you wouldn't tell a stranger in the street your address, would you, or your full name, because you don't know them. And number 4, which adults would you ask for help if something worried you online? So that could be any adult you trust, couldn't it? So it could be an adult at school, at home, at any clubs you go to, your football club, your youth clubs, your beavers, your brownies, your rainbows, anything like that you could do there, couldn't you? And we'll be learning more about trusting information online later today. Okay, so let's have a look. So we're going to do 4 activities now, and what 3 of the activities, and we're going to do together on here, and one of the activities, and perhaps an extra one if we've got time, you're going to do on your own. So Activity 1 is word sorting. Activity 2, we're going to do something all about owls. Activity 3, we're going to do a fact detectives together. And activity 4, we're going to do a fact detectives on our own. So let's have a look. So activity 1. Read each of these words that are coming up. Decide whether that word means you should believe what it is about or whether you shouldn't believe what it is about. So here's all the words, and we want to try and sort them into believe it or don't believe it. So we've got the words fact, untrue, true, false, wrong, make-believe, fiction, trustworthy, imaginary, real, incorrect, fake, genuine, right, correct, and untrustworthy. So have a look at those words, pause this video, think about which box they go in. Are they words that mean you should believe it, or are they words that mean you shouldn't believe it? Okay, let's have a look together. So our first word is fact. Now, a fact is something that's true, isn't it? So that's something we can believe. The next word's true. Well, we know something's true. That means it's telling the truth. It's right. So that's something we should believe. If we say something's wrong, does that mean we can believe it or not believe it? We can't believe it, can we? It's wrong. Fiction. Now, if you've read fiction books before, are they fact books or story books? Fiction are storybooks. So they're not always true. They might be about a true topic, but they're not going to be factually correct. So they are, don't believe it. Imaginary. Something's imaginary. Is it real? No. So we don't believe it. Incorrect. If I said to you that's incorrect, would that be right or wrong? It'd be wrong. You wouldn't believe it. Genuine. If I say to you something's genuine, that's a genuine thing. Would it be true or false? It would be believe it, wouldn't it? If something's correct, it's the opposite of incorrect. So that is believing it. If something is untrustworthy, that word un, that prefix, means you shouldn't trust it. So it's don't believe it. If something's untrue, that also means we shouldn't believe it. If something's false, that's the opposite of true. We shouldn't believe it. If something is make-believe, that means someone's made it up. We shouldn't believe it. If something's trustworthy, that's the opposite of untrustworthy. So that means we should believe it. And real is the opposite of fake, which means we should believe it. Fake is not to be believed. And if something's right, that means we believe it. So it can be quite hard to understand whether something's trustworthy or not, and we need to use extra information to do that, which we're going to look at in a minute. So let's go on to our second activity. We're going to look at a website all about owls with some owl facts, and we're going to read it together, and we're going to decide whether the information should be believed or not, and we're going to decide where we go to find out that information. So, all about owls. So we've got owls hunt at night. Owls are afraid of rabbits. Owls cannot blink. The carnival owl has green feathers. Owls sleep in trees. Owls have 2 eyes. Owls cannot fly until they are 2 years old. And owls have 4 toes on each foot. So what 3 things can help us to check facts? What did the owl in the story tell us? Well, we can ask someone who is one of these things or knows about them. So ask an expert. We can speak to an adult and ask them their opinion if they think it's right. Or we can look at a different website, book, or TV show to give us extra information. So you could do a Google search, couldn't you? So the first one, owls hunt at night. Well, how could we find out the information? First of all, we could ask someone who knows, ask an expert. Or we could speak to an adult. Or we could even look at a different website, couldn't we? But as an adult, I can tell you that owls do hunt at night. Second one, owls are afraid of rabbits. Well, it'd be worth us looking on a different website to find that out, wouldn't it? Or asking an expert. Now, I don't know the answer to that, so I would have to look at a different website. But I would imagine they're probably not because they eat rabbits, don't they? Number 3, owls cannot blink. That sounds a bit like an opinion, but it sounds like it might be a fact. So we need to ask someone who knows. Next one, the carnival owl has green feathers. We could look at a different website to see if that's true. Next one, owls sleep in trees. Well, we've read lots of stories about owls and we've looked at owls, and the owls all seem to sleep in trees there. So that might be true, but to find out, we could ask someone who knows or speak to an adult. Owls have 2 eyes. Well, that owl in that picture has 2 eyes. So I think we can say that's a fact, but we could ask someone who knows. Owls cannot fly until they are 2 years old. Again, we could look at a website to help us find that information. And owls have 4 toes on each foot. Now, I don't know that. I could look at an owl or ask an expert, couldn't I? So well done. So it's not always easy to find the truth and the fiction, is it? So if you want, you can pause this video now and use the adults you know, books or websites or TV shows to help you check whether these facts are true or false. It's up to you. You can either pause it and have a go, or we can move on. Okay. Activity 3. We're going to do fact detectives together. So we're going to read each of the pieces of information, and one of them is true and one of them is false. So we need to decide which one we think. Okay. So here's 2. First one, geese have wings and feathers. Or geese eat sweets and ice cream. Well, I can't imagine. I know from looking at those geese that they've got wings and that they've got feathers, but I can't imagine that geese eat sweets and ice cream. That wouldn't be very good for them, would it? They wouldn't find that in the wild. So which one do you think is going to be false? That's right. The false one is geese eat sweets and ice cream. Geese actually eat bugs and plants. Next one. Dogs can have 6 legs. Dogs often bark. Well, if you've ever seen a dog, have you ever seen one with 6 legs? Have you ever seen one that barks? So have a think. What do you think? Which one's true? Which one's false? The true one is that dogs can bark. And the false one is that dogs can have 6 legs. There is no dogs with 6 legs. They normally have 4 legs. If they've had an accident, they might have less than 4. Next one. This is going back to our history learning. Victorian hospitals were very cramped. Or Victorian doctors hated treating patients. Which one's true and which one's false? Well, we could say we know that Victorian hospitals were very cramped because we've learned that. But we don't know whether doctors hated treating patients. Some of them might have done, but we don't know that. So that's an opinion, isn't it? So that's not a fact. Well done. So now we've done that, we're going to go into activity 4. And thinking about what we've just done, I want you to write 2 sentences about a topic of your choice. So anything you want to, anything you know a little bit about, anything you could find out information about. One of the sentences should be a fact. Okay, so one of them is definitely going to be a fact that you know for certain. And one of them should be false. And when I look at your work, your job is to see if you can trick me. Okay, can you trick me into choosing the wrong answer? So pause this video now, get a piece of paper, write me 1 sentence about your chosen topic that's true and one that's false. So for example, if you chose cars, both would have to be about cars. Okay. And when you've done that activity, we'll go on to the next one. So your final activity, if you've got time, if you want to, you can make a poster which explains to people how to find out whether something is true or false online. So think about what the owl said. So you're going to tell people how they can do that. We want lots of pictures, lots of colors. We want a lovely heading, perhaps something like finding the truth online or staying safe online. Okay. And that's your final task for today. So I hope you've learned a lot, year 2, and remember to keep staying safe on the internet. And I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.